So you have a rental property and you're looking to save some money by becoming a DIY landlord. My name is Danielle Holmes and I'm a broker and owner of Keyrenter St. Charles Property Management. Being in the real estate industry for over 15 years, I've talked to many landlords and have heard their horror stories and just their general qualms of self-managing. So before you fully commit to being a DIY landlord, let's talk about some common pitfalls that you may not be thinking about. Maintenance is one of the biggest challenges of managing a rental property. It's time consuming and stressful, especially if you don't have all the vendor contacts in place. And not to mention emergency maintenance. You are basically on call all the time. And then you have the leasing process. So each time we list a property for rent, we generally get over 100 inquiries. As a landlord that's going to do it yourself, you are in charge of fielding all of those phone calls and scheduling the showings. So if you have a full-time job, this can get very difficult, trying to return all the calls in the evening and squeezing in showings. Oftentimes, you will have to be the bad guy. If your tenant's not paying their rent, you're the one that has to call them and write them notices. They're gonna have a story, and more than likely, it is gonna pull at your heartstrings. You have to learn to have thick skin. You also have to deal with just regular conflicts. So the tenant next door is being too loud. Guess who's getting those complaints? And guess who has to figure out how to get the situation resolved? As a landlord, you're always on call, no matter the day, time, or where you are. If something breaks in the middle of the night, you have to be ready to answer your phone and deal with it. Your tenants decided to break the lease while you're on vacation, you have to find a way to handle it. And then the other thing you have is evictions. So if your tenant doesn't pay their rent, you have to know how you're going to evict them. Can you just change the locks or just go over there and remove the front door? What many people don't think about the eviction either is the aftermath. You're dealing with meeting the sheriff at the property, changing locks, removing the tenant's stuff, and getting the property back up to par. That can get tiresome and stressful very quickly. And then when it comes to moving in your tenant, it's important to make sure you have the property completely ready. You need to have all the maintenance completed, the property cleaned, having a proper documentation of the condition of the rental. So you need photos, you need videos, you need reports for all of that. And if you have a tenant ready to start a lease right away, it can be tough trying to get everything ready at the last minute. And then the other thing is, do you know about occupancy inspections? In the St. Louis and St. Charles area, rental properties typically have to pass a rental occupancy inspection. Each municipality has their own inspection, and some even have additional fire inspections. And then sometimes your tenant has to get their own occupancy permit too. So if you don't pass all these and do all this before the tenant moves in, you can get a lot of fines. And then what about a process for move-outs? In Missouri, you have to allow the tenant to be present at your move-out walkthrough. Did you know this? Move-outs can be stressful. You have to thoroughly document the condition that the tenant left the property. You have to make sure to remember to change utilities back into your name. And don't forget to get the tenant's forwarding address. And then you have to get the property back up for rent. You'll need to manage the repairs, cleaning, get an occupancy inspection, all of that all over again. Another major DIY landlord headache is managing the security deposit return. In Missouri, you only have 30 days to refund the deposit, and you must provide an itemization of anything that was withheld. And then if your tenant has a conflict with what was withheld, you have to handle that as well. It's important to try to keep it between you and the tenant because court costs can get high and time consuming. For some landlords, doing it themselves just makes more sense. For others, they don't realize all that goes into managing a property, and it's a lot. My advice is always this: start out with a property management company. If it's not for you, then manage your rental on your own. But it's better to start out with a professional property management company than doing it yourself and getting into a bad situation. And always, feel free to call us with any questions. 636-707-2000 or visit our website at KeyrenterStCharles.com.